Okay, Mr. Germini, the meeting is yours.
Thank you. Let's call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
We're just gonna put this banana leaf in there, seal all the juices. Absolutely.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A roll call, please.
Long Break,
Here.
Germini,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Ingram,
Here.
Jericho,
She texted me she's here, but unfortunately she can't.
all right, Dumont,
Here.
Breakovich,
Here.
Nedrow.
The only difference is that we smoke it. All the ingredients that make this robust and bold and flavor are still there.
Here.
And now the added smoke and that fresh that it gets.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize Brian was
I learned how to make this.
going to be a part of our meeting. Okay, let's get on to.
I guess I didn't either.
Okay.
I
Hey,
was just,
Brian.
just looking in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know as if you were stepping in for James or something. But let's move on to option number 4, approval of the minutes from August 17th, 2020. I need a motion.
I make a
Motion
motion.
to approve.
So there's a motion by Miller and a second by Ingram. Okay, and we need to do a roll call vote for all votes on a Zoom meeting. So everybody's aware. So a roll call vote, please.
All right, Long Break,
Yes.
Germini,
Yes.
Miller,
Yep.
Ingram,
Yes.
Jericho,
Yes.
Hey,
Dumont,
Yes.
Breakovich,
Yes.
Nedrow.
I guess, yes. I didn't realize I was part of the meeting, but
Brian.
well, if anybody's vote counts in any meetings, it's the president of councils, so. And welcome, Kathy.
Yeah, fine. I don't know what happened. I went on and off a few times. I don't know what the problem was. Sorry.
At least now you're here. So in terms of the agenda, I would like to add under new business, item B, a fall park walkthrough. And other than that, I have nothing else to add to the agenda. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add or amend it with? Okay. Can I get a motion and a second for that?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
Dumont, second. Ingram, was it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. And roll call vote, please.
Long Break,
Yes.
Germini,
Yes.
Ingram,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Nedrow,
yes.
Breakovich,
Yes.
Jericho.
Yes.
All right, on to chairperson's communications to the board. First of all, I do want to remind you guys that this is a virtual meeting. We are being recorded. We are on YouTube. We will have to do roll call votes for all votes as opposed to just ones that allocate money. And so just keep that in mind as we are communicating. Obviously, communication will be a little more difficult. It's a little harder to tell who's speaking or making motions for me and everything else. So don't be afraid to say something. I've got you all on my screen, so if you're on the screen and you want to wave your hand, if you'd like to say something, please do. For those who are on the phone, feel free to shout if needed. We'll do our best to try and not jump over each other or speak over each other. In terms of correspondence to council update, I just wanted to fill you in that it was in the council packet and everything else, but upon advice, in case you didn't watch the meeting on Wednesday, the council meeting from 10 days ago, the village attorney advised them to hold off to review some things And so we are going to allow that legal process to play out and make sure that everything is appropriate and proper, and that our issues can be addressed without there being any major issues for the village. Other than that, I was going to introduce our new liaison, but he's not here. So I will go on to, unless there's any
I
questions.
am here.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, just on the phone. I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
get a link
Sorry
or
about
anything,
that.
So I just called in.
That's fine. Hi, James.
Hello.
Do you prefer James or
Jim is fine. Jim is
Jim
fine.
is fine? Okay. Anything you'd like to share with us about yourself?
Not really. I love the fishing tournament every year.
Well, yeah,
Or I
yeah,
did, I should say.
yeah. Hopefully we'll have that back next year and when the world's a little more normal and everything else, and
Yeah.
we can get back to
Everything else I'm learning as we go here.
it. Sounds good. I will be sure to send you some of our information and things of what we've been working on so that you're a little more caught up. I'll send you my phone number and everything else too, if you have any questions.
Okay.
We're really excited to have you. It's been a couple years since we've had a liaison from planning, so it's nice to have a new person, new face on the board to work with, and hopefully get some new ideas from.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Mark,
Yes,
we didn't hear what his name was, sorry.
his name is Jim Clark.
Okay.
Is there a way that you don't have a reverberation? I hear you and I hear your screen and it just seems like everything jumbles.
You probably have to lower your volume.
You want me to lower the volume?
I'm just curious because I hear you and you two birds, but nothing is continuous same at the time merge.
Yeah, I hear it a little bit too, but it's not as bad because I have headphones in.
Much better. Much better.
Okay. So yeah, if anybody has any issues like that, you can't hear somebody, please shout out or wave or whatever you have to do.
It's not better. It's not I'm hearing two people speaking.
Anything else under the, any other questions are there?
There's such
Okay.
a difference between house-made kimchi and processed kimchi. So anytime you make your own,
Let's go to the call to the public.
I get the size is different. You talk about, oh, ridiculous, that's crazy.
There are no members of the public
Okay,
on the phone right now.
well then we will close the call to the public and go to new business. First thing is the joint meeting with council on this Wednesday, September 23rd, where we'll be meeting to discuss the updating of the bathrooms and the building addition at Claire Miller Park. I believe everybody should have received the bathroom quotes that were submitted, the 3 of them and everything else. We can, like I said, I want you to know in that meeting, you know, you have ideas for it, you have things that you want to suggest, don't hesitate in sharing those with council and everybody else. Some of the things I brought up in our at the council meeting were concerns of like ventilation, lighting, will there be new fixtures, will there be a sanitary disposal in the ladies' stalls? Do we want to have a discussion about a sanitary dispenser? Security concerns with the cameras, because currently we only have the 1 camera over the ladies' room. That might be something more for the chief to talk to, but it is something that we should probably consider. And then also the water fountain. I was thinking that it would be great if we could get a bottle station, filling station, as a part of that water fountain, so that we have a little more modern use. I know I would have used it quite a bit when I was running a lot. And then also a question that I thought up was just making sure that we're going to have the restrooms, the doors have the hydraulic, so that you just push the button to open them. But that might be something we do later on with CDBG funding or something of that nature. But these are all things just to discuss. And then also, when talking about the storage room, what size is right? So currently we're looking at a 375 square foot storage room. Do we think that is sufficient, or would we like for them to consider us going a little larger? I would love to go a little bit larger just to accommodate a few things that we may gain or add. Do we want to relocate the freezer to that room? It will have outlets. So do we want to have some counters in there so that if we want to make popcorn in there or something like that, we could do that. So these are all kinds of things that we can discuss and consider at the meeting. And that, I wanted to throw to you guys. Has anybody had the chance yet to look at the bathrooms or the quotes and things like that, or any thoughts haven't been given thus far?
I think you brought up almost everything that I had as a concern. You mentioned the filling station. Another advantage of the filling station is, a lot of places are discouraging, and I'm not sure if it's a recommendation or not from any government body, but to not put your lips on the part that sprays out, if we're trying to prevent COVID, and just use the bottle fillers.
Right, it adds even more, it lends even more credence to that consideration. And a lot of people these days, they always have a bottle with them.
But isn't it better to have the drinking fountain installed and then just turned off during this time than to have to come back and add a drinking fountain later?
Well, right now the drinking fountain's broken, so we have no drinking
And
fountain.
then the new one.
Yeah, and during COVID, it probably, I don't know what other municipalities or park systems are doing, but they tend to leave water fountains running because, that's hydration is a pretty important thing, especially when we've had a pretty hot summer. So you don't want to deny the ability for somebody to get water, but it is an issue. It's that you never would have thought of until now.
LK, just so we're kind of prepared for Wednesday. LK, it's a brand that makes, if you don't know, plumbing fixtures. They make a lot of, probably almost every bottle filling station you've ever used is made by LK. The prices have come down on them over the years because they're selling so many more now. And the price difference between what's spec'd out in our packet and what the LK would cost is minimal, and the installation is the same cost, as far as I know. Anyways, I don't know why, unless they were. Well, I can tell you as a plumber, it's the same amount of time between the two. That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, actually, that's who I looked at was LK, because that's what's quoted by one of the builders was an LK water fountain. So I just went ahead and looked up to see, okay, what would it be with the fill station as well? So I would love to consider that as a possibility. And in the long term, something that's going to be there for 20, 30 years. And because this one will be attached to the building, instead of like the current one, which is sitting independent, and the reason why it can't be repaired is whatever's damaged is underneath the concrete. This one would probably be, even if it does have an issue, it would be more likely we could address it and fix it because it'll be attached to the building itself. So that's another positive there.
Yeah, and then I would say also push for the extension on the back. It's cheaper to add square footage to a building while you're building it than come back later, tear a wall down, and then add 3 more.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Anybody else have any questions, concerns, or input regarding that? And is everybody going to be able to, just to get an idea, is everybody going to be able to attend that meeting?
I should be able to, yeah.
Erico, yes.
Great, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Kathy, for identifying yourself too. Yeah, that way, I mean, it'll also be virtual, of course. So you'll have even more people on your screen trying to communicate. So yeah, in that sense, it will probably be a meeting where patience will be required just to make sure we aren't talking over each other and everything else.
And I'd like to make a comment. I do agree. I think 375 feet, I would like to see that storage room larger, because once you start putting shelves and countertop in there, I think we're going to need the space.
Yeah, I agreed. And we're going to put in the tents in there. Those
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
You can't put those on a shelf very easily or have a shelf that's deep enough. And DPW won't be able to go in there with a forklift like they're doing now and setting things up there. So we will have it won't be as efficient as it is now in a sense, but it'll be more efficient because it'll be right there in the park, but it won't be as effectively stored because it won't be able to be put way
Do you
up.
know how much larger we can go with that storage unit? Maybe Dave, you might know.
Well, in the proposal from Powell Engineering, there's a provision for 2 feet to the south, and then whatever the width of the building would be. So I don't know how many square
25.
feet. What is it?
It's 2 by 25 each
Okay,
addition.
it would add 50 square feet.
Okay. So that would be the maximum according to Powell's.
Well,
design.
according to, yeah, and I have it in my
Okay.
hand. I'm looking to see what the cost was.
It varied from one to the other. The lowest bidder, it was $5,000 per addition. The others were a little lower, but they were starting off at a higher base bid point. So,
Mhm.
it was one of
Yeah.
those things where depending on how many additions we did or how many expansions by 2 that we did, but there was no technical cap put on there.
No,
Mhm.
I'm
No,
not
there's
saying
not.
we were, I'm not saying we should go out another 20 feet or something, but, there was no official number put in place there. I would mention, back in October of last year, when we were doing some measurements and things like that, we were talking about the Park Center, we were talking about storage, the number that Mike Smith had thrown out there was about 400. And we were thinking, so if we could even add another 50, that would make a difference in the accommodation. But yeah, once you put in the shelving and everything else, and the more you want to do with that room, because it does have a sink hookup. So if we do put a sink in there, then you're not going to want to have a bunch of stuff sitting right over that sink area. You lose storage space every time as well. So we'll have to, 50 to, if we could add, I would personally, if we could go to 475, I think that would be really great. Nothing's perfect, and you're not going to know until you put all of our equipment in those rooms or in that room.
Mark,
Yes, ma'am.
why do we have to have a sink in the storage room?
We don't have to, but there is a sink hookup being put in. Should we eventually desire one for cleaning certain things or what have you. It's kind of one of those where, I don't know, that's just part of the plan that was done without us. So I'm not quite sure what the thought process entirely was behind it, but it is in the
That's a
plan.
waste of space if we put a sink in there. We don't really need one for any specific purpose unless it's to make a bigger building down the road somewhere, and then they're going to be squawking about that.
Yeah, so it would be it's one of those where I think that we could discuss that more thoroughly with council and work that out a little bit more. That if we're going to put a sink hookup in, where are we going to put it? Why are we going to put it there? And are we going to actually be able to get a lot of use out of it or effectively use it? Because it'd be great to have a sink in a lot of ways so that we could clean our tools and our spatulas and things like that, and then the popcorn machine and the snow cone machine, all that other equipment that we use, rather than what we're doing now, which in a normal year, I'd be hauling it home and cleaning it, or somebody else would. And I think, in fact, it's going to sound terrible, I think some of the stuff from the corners never got cleaned because it immediately got stuck up in the rafters in the DPW, so we never were able to clean that. Being able to clean on site would be great.
Okay.
I agree. I like the idea of having a sink hookup in there.
Yeah,
even-
sure. And when we say
Right
hookup,
away.
are we just talking about the plumbing rough?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it was. That's how it's written. The
Yeah.
plan.
Yeah, it's cheap to rough in plumbing when the building's coming together because you're not tearing apart walls, floors, and running the piping up and maybe venting it out through the roof. It's a project. But if you can get the rough plumbing in, which is inexpensive, also the rough plumbing doesn't stick out of the wall very far. So if we decide we don't want to put a sink there, there's just a couple pipes sticking out like that far. And they're small and they're close together. So we can store around that, no problem.
Good. Yeah, I think though it is a good question to ask. Is if you're going to put a sink in there eventually, or have the rough hookup even, is it ever going to be an effective spot? Because we don't want to put it in there and then not be able to use it effectively, or really lose a lot of the storage space that we're using. So, anything else there from anybody else, or? All right. Then we'll move on. And like I said, that will be Wednesday at 7 o'clock, virtual. And did everybody receive the email from Paige about that, with the agenda and everything else?
Yeah.
Yes, Carrico, yes.
Thank you. So on to the fall park walkthrough. We did this last year. It was just Kelly and I, because it got rained out. And it was useful. We did find a broken piece of playground equipment. And I discovered some of the workout equipment was really loose and everything else. This one is usually more about finding things like that. And then is there anything that we really like to see DPW work on over the winter kind of thing? So like last year, they did the nets for the inline hockey, and they look great. It was amazing coming out in the fall or in the spring and seeing those going, they look new. It was a really cool thing to see. They did a great job on them. So it's kind of doing that and then reviewing some of the things that we did in the spring. Because it's so late in the year and because the weather gets bad and it gets dark a lot quicker, I don't like doing that. I don't want to do this the hour before our meeting. Also because we're doing these meetings virtually, so it's even less effective too. Then everybody has to zip home, log in, and everything else. So is there anybody that is really interested in doing that? Doing the walkthrough?
We didn't hear you, Mark.
What are we going to do?
Do the park walkthrough. So
Oh, okay, yeah, I can do.
it's more of one where it's a little more casual than the one in the spring. But like I said, we found some things last year, and so I'd like to do it again, just to give that, it's like give it the once over and see what's been done, see what still the short-term things that need to be done, the medium-term things, and the long-term things too. Some of the long-term things have been addressed or are being addressed, like the damaged areas of the pathway that have been torn out and are going to get repaved. So it's always a helpful thing to remind, especially for budgeting and things like that, what needs to be done as well. So I was thinking about just putting that on doing that the day of our next meeting, but doing it during the day when it's it's light outside. So that is the 19th. And so is there anybody that is interested in doing that?
Yeah, I'll do that with you, Mark.
Mark, I can probably do it. I'm just checking my calendar now.
Okay. Well, what we'll do is I'll email you guys. I'll email it out and we'll get a schedule just so we can get out there and check some things out. And like I said, it's not a required thing. It's just more of if you got the time.
An extra set of eyes is always helpful.
Absolutely, yeah. Because we've all got our own biases of what we see and don't see, and what we may or may not be concerned with. Last year, one of the broken pieces, I didn't find it. It was actually Kelly's daughter climbing up it and pulling on it, and the thing coming free. Luckily, she's so tiny, it didn't matter. But it's always good to do that and make sure that our equipment is safe and everything else too.
I can likely make it.
Okay, we'll work it out. Anything else there from anybody? Any other? Okay, great. Thank you. On to working business. Veterans Memorial Subcommittee update. Kelly is not here, but I'll let you know. Bricks have been ordered. We've had a sample brick delivered. It looks great. We are on schedule now to do the installation in the first or second week of October, it looks like. He got a little delayed due to a COVID issue, the landscaper, but things are good to go, and we are on schedule for in the next couple of weeks, it looks like. So the hardscape should be put in, and of course the driveways or the parking lot, has been put in, and everything is looking good there. And so, yeah, we are getting close to actually having something really visible in the ground and everything else. So it's pretty exciting, and I'm looking forward to when the bricks come in. Seeing them all and all the names and stuff like that. Is there any questions about that?
It looks good.
Thank you. Yeah, so far, yeah, I love the flagpoles.
Looks good.
Now. Yeah, we did test the lighting out and everything else already and check that out too. So we have some good ideas on the lighting and how bright it should be or shouldn't be, because we don't want to light up the night too much. But we do want to make sure the flags are appropriately lit. So. On to B, Beautification Subcommittee. Update from Chair Miller.
Our signs are gonna be in September 4th. And Mike is going to see when the DPW has time to place them, if all of them, or if not in succession, a couple at a time. I don't know the date that will be done. I took all the measurements over to Suburban. They have given 3 quotes as to the cost, which I submitted to Mike. I'm not gonna go cheap. The cheapest bid is $8.99. That's one delivery with everything we need. The middle of the road is about 900, maybe 1,000. The other bid is about 2,000. But the difference is in the edging. We can go aluminum edging for more, or we can do the edging that the council has and has had for 5 to 7 years already for less money. But the other thing is, for $130, they'll deliver stuff to the village. For $360, they will deliver everything to each individual planter. Meaning we don't have to draw anything from the village to the planters to do this. It's already gonna be there. I want to go that route because then we don't have to figure out how we're gonna get this stuff down there.
Well, I think we should take that. I think we should take that to beautification so that we can more thoroughly discuss that and work with Debbie and everybody else on that group so that we can make that decision and figure out what we want to do exactly, if that works.
I personally want to go with, I would like to go with the plastic molding more than that will cut 1,000 off the 2,000. But I really do like the idea of everything being delivered to each individual planter. Yes, we'll have to get it done in a more faster method because people will come and probably abscond our valuable property. But I also don't have the power to keep drawing. We're talking 6 to 8 yards of everything: dirt, mulch, the tubing to go around, the mats to put down for the weed control. This is everything, and it will all be dropped off at the individual planters instead of drawing it all from the village to each planter. I don't know what the DPW is going to want all that stuff there. We're talking a lot of room.
Well, we've got the budget, so
Yeah.
we can do it. So if that's how we want to go about it, we certainly can.
But that's about it there. And Molly will get the butterfly gardens too by spring.
Okay, I was there this weekend checking it out.
Yep, got all kinds of good ideas and
Awesome, appreciate it.
well, we got 3 butterfly gardens. I'm going to try and make it 4. So, alrighty guys, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, anything else there from anybody? All right. On to see Tuesdays in the Park. That is tomorrow. It is the obstacle course. There will be no food truck. Unfortunately, Pal Pleasers had some vehicle issues, so they won't be able to attend. 5 to 7 p.m. Attendance is not required. I'll be there. I know a few
I'll be
of you guys will
there.
be there. It should be pretty calm. There is the Oakland County Parks and Recreation does have a set of protocols and guidelines in place for all of their events now. And for this one in particular, they have things, you know, they not only social distancing, but only 2 kids at a time on the units. Hand sanitizer before they hop on. Masks are advised. They will have masks available. So it'll be a little more of a team Tuesdays in the Park as opposed to, you know, usually, you know, kids are just running wild and, you know, if it's a bouncy house, they're just piling in there. And if it's an obstacle course, they're just flying through. So it'll be a little more calm, but hopefully it'll be still a very safe event, but a nice way for some folks to blow off some steam. I'll pick up some popsicles and some, like those little mini bottles of water and stuff to bring out. But that's going to be, it's going to be, like we said it before, we're going to keep it simple this year or this time, just because there's just too many things, too many what ifs, and we want to keep it clean and safe.
Has anybody registered there yet?
What do you mean registered? Nobody's had, there was no register.
Put it online for no more than 40.
Oh, that was, that, for this event, that was not required. I
Okay.
did check with Oakland County Parks and Rec, and that's not an issue for this specific event, which is why we went this route.
Okay.
Was because it was, as opposed to that one, we weren't sure, because of the nature of our park is, people just come by, see that something's going on and kind of pull in a lot of times. So we decided to go the route of this one. And once he informed me that the only things that we have to abide by are executive orders from the governor, it's a little easier to manage this.
Mark, this is Kathy. Do we need to help in any ways for the setup for the course versus Oakland County?
They set up their whole, they have 2 people at least coming out, and they do the whole setup and everything else themselves. So we are not obligated to help them with any of that. They are trained on this, and I think that they're in their world, this probably is a matter of the fewer hands touching it, the better kind of thing. Because I know it does come sanitized. So yeah, we've never had to help them, and other than pointing where we want it kind of thing. But they know where to put it. They always seem to know where to put it, even before, I mean, I've shown up, been the first one to arrive, they've already been there. And they're already like, yeah, we know where we're going. We know what we're doing. It's old, it's old game to them, so.
Thank you.
Bathrooms open?
Yes, they are. Bathrooms are open, and they've been open for months, but yeah, they should still be open, because they usually don't get closed till late October or November, usually November, so.
So I did read some people, either it was on Facebook or next door, talking about Tuesdays in the park. So the word has been spread.
Yes, yeah, I saw that. I did get some
Did you see
emails
that?
as
I
well.
don't remember where it was, but
Yeah, I posted at Facebook. I saw Lori, you posted her response to the concerns, and I was both in email and on Facebook trying to make sure people are aware that this isn't just some, we didn't hire just some private entity out to get it or hauling it out of somewhere. This has been, they put in some real thought. They consulted with the Oakland County Health Department. They reviewed CDC guidelines. So that's when they brought this whole thing back. They did it with COVID at the top of their mind, and with that being a major concern, but they wanted to find a way to still bring a little bit of fun out there for everybody. So, yeah, hopefully we'll have a few people show up at least. It won't be just us sitting around, and because it'll look weird if I'm the only one running through the obstacle course. So,
Wait, I'm bringing my video camera.
oh, that's perfect. Right. Any other questions or concerns about that one? Okay, thank you. The Halloween trick-or-treating alternative, I don't know if you guys have seen some of the posts from Chief online about that and everything else. And so he made it very clear that Wolverine Lake as an entity does not regulate Halloween, just suggests the hours. It does not appear, from when I tried to do some research and everything else, that there is going to be a push to cancel Halloween in the state. It would be a really hard thing to enforce anyways. I would suggest we keep our ears perked and aware, but as of right now, it looks like it's gonna happen, and I'm personally very comfortable with that and plan on having candy out or giving out candy and everything else. And if anybody isn't out there, they can just keep their lights off and things like that. But again, like I said, I haven't heard anything other than just, people assuming something might happen. But I think the chief made it pretty clear too that he fully intends on there being a Halloween in Wolverine Lake. Anybody, did you have something to say, Kathy?
Nope.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Hearing things.
So
Go ahead.
I was reading a couple articles today about what different communities are doing for Halloween. And I think it was Canton, they're doing like a trunk or treat.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of having the kids come up to the house, people are just, putting their trunks out and tossing out candy to the kids. So I thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah, that's certainly something that, if there's 1,000 ways we could, or, ways to do it that would be a little bit more, COVID conscious, I guess you could call it. And we can, if it does become an area of concern, we can always promote that. And trunk or treats, I know have been popular for a long time, and I know that Walled Lake's been doing one for a few years now at least. So yeah,
I
it's
don't get
something that-
anybody anyway.
Yeah,
I get like 5 or 6 people. That's
I get about
it.
20. So yeah, it's not too bad for me. That end, I
Right.
think, kind of kills the crowd a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm usually by the time it's like 10 minutes after 7, it's just gigantic handfuls going to the kids because the last person that needs the candy is me. So I get super generous as the time ticks down.
Oh, you're the one that all the kids know to go to.
But, yeah, well, I decorate. I do decorate. So yeah, I do enjoy. I enjoy it. I think Halloween's fun. I loved it as a kid. Yeah. So anything else there from anybody? Anybody with any real concerns about it or?
No, I don't. This is Kathy. I think the thing is, I think it's going to be up to the parents if they're comfortable letting their children go. And I think a lot of them will just probably go to the neighbors that they know.
Yeah.
Is what
Yeah.
I think.
I think
think
I think
it's like-
you'll see some subdivision kind of interactions more rather than just people may not travel as far as they normally did. Anything else from anybody? All right. On to E, Halloween decorating contest, chairperson long break.
Yeah, they, Paige designed a flyer and it's out. And we're gonna have 3 prizes this year, first, second, and third, or honorable mention. I don't know if we decided that yet. And I think the deadline is October 19th, so that we can judge and then get all the goodies to the winners.
Yeah, and I saw that Paige, not only did she get that done for us, the flyer, but she actually went above and beyond and posted it on Facebook for us on the private page too. So
It looks
starting to get the word out.
it looks nice.
Yeah, and I'll make sure and put it on next door. And so that hopefully we can get some entrants. And again, like this year, hopefully the idea that anybody can nominate anybody will encourage a few more entries. Anything else from that? All right, thank you very much, Lori. Speaking of decorating contests, the Christmas decorating contest, we've done it for a couple of years and we were looking to continue with it again. It is a event that we can always do even in this more restrictive era. Lori, would you like to chair it again?
That's fine.
Okay. Break. And then, yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably, are you thinking same number of like 3 again rather than the 4? Yeah.
Yeah, let's go with the 3.
Very similar process as, I think if we keep doing this for a few years kind of thing, people will start to catch on. I mean, all these things, they do take some time for them to, gather an audience. And we can get on advertising for that thing in November, early November, so that there's plenty of time for folks to get after it. Anything there from anybody that they'd like to throw in or suggest? Okay, thank you. On to G, the Snacks with Santa alternative. We were discussing this last month's meeting, and it was an outdoor kind of a drive-through thing using Clara Miller Park. I think that is probably, if we're going to do something that is outdoors, that Clara Miller is our best option. And it's just a matter of, I think, fleshing it out more and determining what we can get, what we can do in regards to that. Because obviously we can't, like we've said before, we can't do an indoor event anymore. And sitting on Santa's lap is out the window too, and all that kind of stuff. So it's got to be a little bit different or a lot different. But still finding a way to have that Christmas event. So incorporating the letters to Santa, incorporating the decoration contest, maybe, and then doing something in the park where, we have the goodie bag, we have a Santa out there, something that's maybe like some of those inflated deer or real deer, if we could, or real reindeer, or excuse me, or something like that. That would be pretty cool. And working on that. Is there anybody that at this moment would like to chair that and do a little more exploring? And
Well, I'll chair it again.
okay,
I did talk to Santa Sam this week, and he is going to a Santa conference on the 29th. So they said they'll have more ideas for us after they get back.
cool. That is
So Santa Sam is still down.
awesome. Oh, that's great.
Well, at least Jackie is his wife, but she said she'll have some ideas for us in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Does he? Where? I'm just curious. Where is the Santa conference? Did you find that out?
It's in Midland.
Oh, of course. That's
It's
the
not
first
in
place
the
I
North
thought
Pole
of.
this year. Yeah, they canceled the North Pole because of COVID.
Of course. That is cool. I like that. I like that, even, you don't think about it, but even, Santas and things like, they're trying to find a way to, and I like that a lot.
Yeah.
An alternative and a way to make it safe and appropriate. Thank you, Diane, for taking that on, and for having contacted Santa Sam. Any questions for anybody, concerns, suggestions? All right, well, hopefully we'll have some information from Santa Sam and also just start, like I know tomorrow when I'm at the park and standing around a little bit, I'll probably look at that idea that like Kelly had suggested a little bit too, and seeing how realistic that could be and everything
And
else too.
also, to that end, I did talk to the Richardson Center, and we could always use the outdoor facilities as well.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, they have a lot of space.
Right.
And they have a huge, they have a lot of yard and things, a lot of grass. It might be a little even more accessible.
So
That
as
is
an option.
great. Thank you very much. Anything else from anybody? Thank you. On to H, Amelia Park. So Kathy, Molly, and I met out at the park and did some reviewing and some determining of things of what we'd like to do. The two main pieces of equipment we were thinking about going with were a swing set and some kind of climber. I know it says on here that making recommendations to council, but I've been in contact with a few of the providers of equipment and I have some questions for them. And then also I was reviewing, which we'll be talking about a little bit, the recreation plan. And according to that and everything else, Oak Island currently gets a 2 on its ADA certificate or standards of a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. So I want to ask some questions of the planner about that and seeing how we can essentially get our number up there in terms of when we're making recommendations to council. So I'm also going to share with you guys, show you what I'm talking about in terms of some of the ideas that Kathy and Molly and I were discussing. So can you all see this photo?
Yep.
Okay. So this is Amelia Park. This is me standing on the berm that's back there. And so can you see my mouse?
Yep.
Okay, so we want to take these posts that the kids climb on. They're good, they're fine, they like them. But we need to move them so that we can put the swing set in here, because the swing set requires a very large space. And then we want to relocate those to a spot where they can be incorporated and going along with the climber, they can hop up and down on. And let's see if I can. And so this is a thing that was a concern to us. I'm standing where the swings would be. And as you go from the swings, you see there's mulch here, there's some grass, then there's asphalt, then there's grass, then there's asphalt, then there's grass, then there's mulch in the slide. So a kid running from the swing set to the slide or from the slide to the swing set is going through multiple transitions, not all of which are particularly safe to run or to fall on, I should say. They're not all well tapered. There's a lot of uneven spots. We actually did see Molly's daughter trip at a spot, so we know it's a concern. So we want to address that because right now it is just not effective. And this is probably something the planner was getting at in that number, is that this is a problem in terms of safety and things like that and accessibility, effective accessibility. So this is the view from the street, standing in the right at the entrance of the parking lot, kind of just a little bit back. And so we're thinking we would like to remove pretty much, I think we said right about this line here, all of that paving so that there is no hard surface in that area because we don't want, we want that play area to be all for play and not nowhere where a kid might slip and fall and hurt themselves when they're transitioning from one piece of equipment to the other. This current design is unfortunately, it does split it pretty severely with where the paving runs. So we would like to get rid of that so that it is safer. There is other materials that we can put in there if we want to make sure that it is wheelchair friendly. But right now, what we've got is a bit of an issue for effective use. Not only do we only have the slide right now, but we've also got a lot of issues where when kids are running around, they can trip and fall. But what we're thinking of taking these posts that are over here is moving them over here somewhere and then having the climber in that area as well so that the kids can use the climber, use the post, jump off and all that stuff because they do seem to enjoy the posts even though you know, they're just kind of sitting there right now. But it'd be a fun way to get cover a broader age range as well. So right now that slide is a little bit, is definitely a younger kid's slide, but what we would have is we'd have the slide for the youngest kids as well, then the swings, which would have both the regular swings and the toddler seats. So that would appeal to the both age groups. And then the climber and the post and everything else would appeal to the older age group as well. So we would cover this roughly the spectrum of kids that are going to want to play in a park and doing all that in a pretty cost-effective way, and also covering you know, a lot of good things and using the park space that we have a little bit more effectively. Does anybody have any questions about that? Did I miss anything, Molly or Kathy? If you, I know you can't see, but
No, not at all.
Nope, you got it.
so is there any questions from anybody else about that and what we're looking to do and what questions I'm going to be getting answered?
Everything looks good, and I understand removing the asphalt, but we should make sure that in the plan there is, I mean, I can access it because I have the scooter, but if there's a grandparent that's bringing a grandkid down that might be using a cane or a wheelchair, that's my only issue with taking out the pavement.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's part of what I really want to do is I want to make sure that when we, you know, when we do revamp this park, we do it right this time so that it's not something that we go back to in 2 years and say, oh, shoot, we missed this or we missed that. And it's not effective because you're absolutely right. We want to make sure that we have it set up so that, you know, all levels of disability can move around there, but also it's safe for the kids to play in. Any other questions or suggestions?
What's the other materials you were talking about that can replace asphalt that makes it ADA compliant, or at least?
It's poured in place rubber and things like that. There's a few others, like if you go to Scarlett's Playground, that surface is completely compliant and also cushioned. It's really nice stuff. We could theoretically not use it for the entire park because that would be really expensive, but you could potentially use something like that. Or there's other materials that are not quite so expensive that are friendly to people with disabilities that would allow for access, but also, you know, if a kid falls, they're less likely to suffer a real injury. But there is other materials available. But it's the poured in place or something along those lines is generally the one that I've seen. But that's a question that I want to ask of people who are certified. I don't think any of us are. So.
Well, this I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Will this other material go underneath the slide and underneath the swings, or is it just going to be a cross pipe through to each one?
It can go either way. I mean, if you start putting it underneath all the equipment and everything else, then it does start to add up,
Right.
cost-wise. If you just use it to create like a path to everything, it's not quite so, it wouldn't be quite so costly. But, you know, the keys is making sure that you have on your play equipment that you can get to it via whatever your mode of transportation is, if you're walking or if you're in a chair, if you're with a cane. And then with the equipment itself, it's making sure that it's got that 6-foot safety zone that has the approved material, whether that's wood chips, poured in place, other materials, so that when you land on it, you know, it's got some shock absorption.
But if a kid falls on it, he's still going to skin his knee just like he does on asphalt.
Yeah, he's going to skid his knee, but he's not going to. It's a lot less likely to suffer injury because it's mostly about if the kid gets up to here on the slide at the top and for some reason falls over. You know, that's a 5-foot fall. 5 feet falling onto asphalt is going to hurt. Could do some real damage. 5 feet falling onto a shock absorbing surface will reduce the odds of injury significantly. Because there is several hundred. I think it's the number I read was 200,000 trips to the ER per year in the United States due to park playground injuries. So we've been lucky here, but it does happen. That's why they transitioned away from things like sand and other surfaces that they found just aren't quite effective enough to in reducing the odds of severe injury. So yeah, we are targeting skin knees, I guess you could say, when there is a fall rather than something worse.
Well, I think the benefit to that also is less maintenance.
Oh, it is. Yeah,
You're not having to replace wood chips or weed.
Yeah, and I'm not sure when this was. I mean, I know they put the slide in January, but I'm not sure. You know, it is one of those things where I know we didn't do the mulch this year in the park in Claire Miller, for example, and it is something that you should do every year. It's in fact they usually recommend you do it twice because it does compact so much that you do your first level of several inches, and then you do another few inches a couple months later after it's compacted a little bit and then of course, you know, kids dig it out as they're running around in it or running in circles or in the swing. So there are materials that you can put in there, little pads that you can put in under swings, for example, to help prevent that. But yeah, there are things that will help reduce that maintenance cost and the ongoing oversight and things like that if you use one of those kinds of materials. Also, the better tapered it is, and if you go to a lot like Gilbert Willis Park and some of these other ones, they have, you know, it's framed, so it's all put in place so there's less ability for the mulch to fall out or to spread around in the grass and things like that. So it gives it, not only does it give it a cleaner edge, but it also helps to keep the mulch where you want it, if that's what you're going to use. So these are all things that we can consider, and that's why I'm going to try and get some free advice or cheap advice at least from some of the people who know of what we can do to get this park into a better standard and a higher ADA standard, and then also just safer in general for the kids that are going to use it. Anything else there from anybody? All right.
No.
Go ahead and stop sharing this because I keep messing with my mouse. I know, and I don't realize it's probably distracting. And so I'll get that information and report back in October. On to the recreation plan, update on the rough draft and projected schedule. So Chris did send to the steering committee the rough draft that we are reviewing currently, which is where I got that information. So I have been reading it. It is long, and I've been trying to read every page. A lot of it's just details about parks in the surrounding, in the state, in the county. It's a very interesting document when you want to nerd up on parks. But there is, you know, he has the action plan in there and the recommendations and all that. So we will be providing feedback to him, and then hopefully we will get that out to the board to review, because we will be meeting with him in our October meeting to discuss that more in more detail and to then make a recommendation to council on adopting it, because we do need to stay on schedule for that. So I'm hoping to give us at least a good 3 weeks just to look through it. The key points will be the action plan, the steps to take, things like that. The thing I would remind you is that this recreation plan isn't just what you want to do. It is something where you kind of want to be aspirational, because the key to it is that it's meant to be for grants and things like that. So it's not just what you know you want to do every year with your own funding. It's what you would do if you get the funding. So in the village, it's like the Benstein Bridge. That could never have been done without some grant support. And now we have this great bridge that connects a big section of the village to each other. So when we're working on those kinds of things in there and looking at the suggestions that we make and the recommendations we make, it's not just going to be about what we like and what we know we need to do, but also what we would like to do if we have some extra funding from an outside entity. So yeah, like I said, I've been reading it, reviewing it, and I do have some notes for him and some questions in regards to it, and we will then get that out to you. Some of the things I'll tell you that are on there. One of the big things was pathways. If any of you guys had the chance to look at that survey that we had, the results, one of the big things that people were talking about was being able to, travel the village and on bikes and walk and run. So that was a big thing that we discussed, that the steering committee discussed, and that's in the plan. And that's what we really want to continue to work on, to allow for folks to travel the village and enjoy the village on their feet, on their bikes, and in a safe fashion. And there's so that's a big feature of it, amongst a few other things. And again, I do want to point out I was really happy with the survey and the number of people that participated in it. We had over 200 something respondents, I think it was, which is just, or 300 even, I can't remember now, but it was a significantly larger number than we had in the last one, which is great because it helps to really give us a more informed document, more usable, because we know that we have a better idea of what our community would like to see. So I was really pleased to see that the results of that and all the ideas that people in the community had to offer us. So any questions about that? Yeah, like I said, we will be meeting with Chris virtually in the next, in October to go through that, and then we will recommend to council to adopt this plan, because it does have to be adopted by February, sometime in February, for us to stay active. And this is important for, you need these plans in effect and on the books for grant opportunities, the MDNR grant in particular. On J, Clara Miller Park Master Plan, really that's the joint meeting that we're going to be having on Wednesday, and everything else. And in terms of the grant, we're still in contention for it. So hopefully we might have to do some modifications to that, just if we end up, depending on what we determine at the Wednesday meeting. But other than that, yeah, it's something that we're continuing to work on in these bathrooms, getting these updated, getting these up to ADA. That's a big victory, a big thing, and a big important thing that's a part of that. So, any questions on that? Okay. On to liaison reports. Planning Commission. Hey, we can actually ask about that. So, James, if you have anything to share from what's going on in planning, please do.
It looks like James is not with us anymore.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if he lost his connection, lost his phone connection, but if he rejoins, I'll let him in right away.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rob. Fun of Zoom and virtual. You never know. On to liaison reports from our council liaison, Mr. Dumont.
Yeah, so not much to report. Unfortunately, I sent my notes back to the village with my packet, so everything that I had written down accidentally got shipped away. But I do want to talk about something, and that was the article that was written in spinal column. It quoted a lot of things that we'd want to talk about, but I do want to, there was one quote, and it got back to me that there were some people that were upset about the way my quote was written. Now, I haven't talked to Ann, who wrote that article, but there was 2 sentences that she put together, I believe. And those sentences were like 20 minutes apart in a meeting, and she combined them. And I hope it was just an error, but it made it look like I don't support you guys. And that's not true. Those were taken out of context. So if you read that and didn't watch the last council meeting, I'm sorry, if you didn't attend the last Park and Rec meeting, or maybe even not pay attention to that, those sentences are probably accurate. I haven't gone back and looked, but they are not to be put together and make it look like I don't support you. So I just wanted to clear that up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Mr. Clark is back with us.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, sorry about that.
No problem. That's the.
Tried to
nature of
unmute
this.
and I hung up.
So if you have anything to share from planning, please do.
Not yet. I wasn't really involved in the last one. It was just a matter of being accepted, I guess. So I don't really have much to share yet, but I'm working on it.
It's great. No, I totally, I figured I wasn't, I apologize for putting you on the spot. I figured that it was, you're still, you're learning, getting your feet wet and everything else. But like I said, we look forward to having you and getting caught up with planning and what's going on there. Because I do know you guys are working on the master plan, or going to be, so. That should be
Was that the park?
That's the other plan, because there's
Okay.
just plans everywhere going on.
All right.
So thank you very much. Commerce Parks and Rec, Linda's not here, and I have not read their minutes lately or anything like that. So I have nothing to share there. So we'll hop on to comments from public. I think we have,
We have one phone call or 2 phone callers. If anybody would like to address the board, they can press *9 to raise their hand. We'll give it a moment.
Sure.
Press *9 if you'd like to address the board. Anybody?
We couldn't do that last time. Sir, last time when we tried to address the board with *9, we could never get through, even though it showed that there were callers on board.
I don't understand what,
This was at the
Why that
council
was.
meeting 10 days
Yep.
ago.
There were several people that wanted to talk and they were not allowed, could not get through. And it showed, you said that there were people out there. But your *9 did not work.
well, I will pass that along to Ken, who runs this, and see if we can troubleshoot that. But that's the first time I've heard that. So
So it's very frustrating when you want to get in and you can't and you don't work and you say, we're out here.
yeah, understood.
Is there a chat box on Zoom like there is on Skype where you can type the question, or
Not that I'm aware of. No.
no?
All right, well, it doesn't look like we have any public comments.
Yeah, I think it sucks.
So let's hop on to comments from board members. And let's start with Kathy.
We accomplished a lot tonight, and I'm excited to see how the Halloween contest comes out. I like the bulletin that they put together, and we have a lot on our agenda. And thanks for all your hard work, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience with the phone and everything else. Comments, let's go with our newest member, Jim.
I don't really have any comments other than when I need to speak, I need to press *6 instead of *9.
That unmutes your, yes, that
Right.
unmutes you. But the protocol is to raise your hand in an orderly fashion so we can keep track of who raised their hand first and call on them. But yes, you're
Okay.
correct.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Dave?
Sure. So one thing that stuck out was something that Mark said earlier. When we're working on Wednesday and or at any time, whenever we're doing any of these plans, those master plans are a wish list. They're not a purchase order. And I just wanted to back that up, make sure that you guys understand when you're asking for things, you're not saying we're going to spend the money on it. But if we can get money for it elsewhere or with our own money or a combination thereof, then we can do some really cool stuff. So sky's the limit.
Thank you, Dave. Lori?
Just great to see everybody, and I'm excited about Tuesdays in the Park tomorrow and the Halloween contest, and hopefully we get a lot of entries. And see you next month, if not tomorrow.
Julia?
I hate this program. I think it sucks. But I'm glad to see y'all again. Looking forward to everybody meeting again. And I hate this program. I truly do. Truly, truly, truly. I want it back to the way it was. We got a perfect building to go into. And if it's nice, I hope we meet outside, not go through this.
Thank you. Molly?
Julia, I'm just happy I could see you over the computer if we couldn't see each other in person. No, I'm excited that we have some events coming up here at the end of the year. It feels like it's been a while that we've been able to put something on, so it's exciting to see some things coming down the pipeline, and looking forward to getting some stuff done on our Wednesday meeting.
Yep.
Thank you, Molly. Diane?
Yeah, so good to see everybody too. Peace out. I mean, I'm okay with the Zoom, on the alternative, but I want to see where Birdie is. Where's Birdie? Anyway, yeah, good to see everybody. I'm excited about everything coming up, and good job, Mark.
Thanks. I just want to say I'm looking forward to our first event of the year tomorrow. It's crazy to say. I mean, if that was normally the way it was, Park and Rec would be super easy. But it's been funny, just the weekends where it's like, oh, this would have been the day of the corn roast. And of course it wasn't. And, village-wise, on Saturday, it would have been Oktoberfest. But instead it was Tear Down the Barge Day. So it's been a very strange year, but it's exciting to actually have the Tuesdays in the Park, have the decoration contest, doing something, thinking about a way to do Santa, having a Santa that's actually going to a Santa conference. That's pretty cool. I want to thank everybody for their patience in doing this virtually. It's not as fun, especially because we are very, the natures of our meetings is very, a lot of discussion and things like that. So thank you for your patience and your hard work as always. And see some of you tomorrow, see some of you Wednesday, see some of you at our next meeting in October, or at the point when we do a walkthrough. So other than that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion Breakovich.
Second.
Carrico? Second, Carrico?
Well, it's good seeing y'all again.
Well, we have to do a roll call vote, please.
Long Break,
Yes.
Giramini,
Yes.
Ingram, yes. Dumont,
Yes.
Mudrow,
Yes.
Breakovich,
Yes.
Kiriko. Yes.
And
You didn't say me again.
Miller.
Miller,
This is the second time. Yeah, I know you guys, I don't like this program, but
We'll
yeah.
have to figure that
Miller
out.
and Clark. Miller and Clark.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned.
Good
Good night,
night.
everyone.
Thank you, Mark, for
Thank
having me
Thank you,
over.
everyone.
Thank you, Rob, for all your
Hey,
work.
everybody.
Much
Looking
appreciated.
forward to Wednesday.